Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Talk with TQ and the Energy Stoners Cafe. I'm here at the Studio Theater in Exile, located in the Hudson Valley Museum of Contemporary Art in Peekskill, New York. And tonight I have a great guest. I just met him, but I've seen him on video. His name is Jon Scott Bennett. He's a historian, and he's actually, in my opinion, a master storyteller, and he's here with us tonight. Thank you for coming. You're the best.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's my pleasure.
Yeah. So tell me, how did you get into this history and because you're talking about history that none of us were here.
Right. Yeah.
And the way you deliver, it's almost as if you were there.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I have always been obsessed with history ever since I was a little kid. My mom always likes to joke about how she taught me how to walk on the battlefield of Gettysburg, or even like the local sites like Forts Montgomery and Clinton, and just taking me all over the place learning history. And I caught the bug, and I've been obsessed with it my entire life. I, at some point, kind of started picking up filmmaking as just a hobby, filming videos with my friends, either, with G.I. Joes, eventually graduating to Nerf guns, fun stuff like that. But then in college is when the combination of history, which is what I got my degree in, and then just filmmaking as a hobby, just combining the two. That came about when I discovered a story called the Pound Ridge Massacre. Pound Ridge, right here in Westchester County, there was the massacre of a Native American village in 1644, very early colonial history, when New York was actually New Amsterdam, New York City, New Amsterdam, and being a Dutch colony, and they attacked this Native American village in what they believe to be Pound Ridge, New York today. And so I discovered that story. I was like, why aren't more people talking about this? And then I was just off, and that's how I became a documentary filmmaker.
Wow, that's a great story. And so you wanted to get into history. You were into history as a kid.
Yeah.
What fascinated you as a child? Because I know there's a rumor we were all children at one point.
At some point, rumor being that we were children at some point, absolutely.
Yeah.
But when I was younger, I definitely had interest in kind of like the big dynamic conflicts, whether it be the American Revolution or the American Civil War. And definitely, because those were the sites I was visiting, that's what I got into first. But as I grew up, I started learning more outside of that, and stories about mutual aid, people helping each other. And I came to see, the way that we're taught history is very conflict centric, especially in school. Like, we're going to go from the Revolution to War of 1812, Mexican-American War, Civil War, war. That's the way history is often taught, and so we think that history is defined by war. When reality is that most of history is people trying to work together, in community with one another. And as I grew up, I started realizing that that was just what was more interesting to me. Not to say that I haven't covered conflicts, I certainly have, and those are important things to talk about. But there's so much outside of that, so much that hasn't been discussed. Those were the stories that I started getting into as I got older.
And you did a beautiful piece that I saw about Benedict Arnold.
Yes.
Yes, and now that's about a person, and the way you talked, again, you sounded like you were there, you knew him, you knew he was a son of a bitch, and I'm like, okay,
Yes,
Yeah.
no, I did not call him that specifically, but I certainly did not speak all too well of the man, but that's just because many people have spoken ill of the man before me. No, I tried to actually give a more nuanced presentation when I've started doing recently boat tours on the Hudson with the New York Boat Company. And of course, it being the big semi-quincentennial, the big 250, a lot of people want to focus on the American Revolution, of course, myself included. And here in the Hudson Valley, when we're taking the boat between Peekskill to West Point and back, you're getting up to West Point, you have to talk about Benedict Arnold's attempt to sell the plans to West Point. So that's kind of one of the hits of the tour. It's almost the climactic story as we get closer to West Point. And so I thought it would be really cool to share that story with the general public by releasing it online and accompanying it with images and maps and things, both just because I think it's an interesting story, but also as a good promo for what the New York Boat Company and I are doing in trying to share this history on the river.
That's great. So how did you connect with them? How did they find you?
Yeah, Austin of the New York Boat Company, he's such a cool guy. He was seeing what I was doing online as well as around the community with the screenings of my films, as well as these short videos that I've released on social media talking about local history. And he just sent me a message. He's like, you know, would you like to tell stories on the river? And I'm like, you're telling me I get to yap about history and be on a boat? Absolutely. You know, it's like the dream gig right there.
Yeah, that's a great place.
And so I immediately jumped at the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, so I'm glad you're doing it.
Yeah.
So are you finding that people are signing up for the boat ride to hear you, or are you cross promoting with him?
Well, definitely cross promoting with him for
Okay.
sure. Like I want people to get to the New York Boat Company, irregardless of whether I'm giving the tour or not, because it's a great opportunity. They have two boats: the Commander, which is the big one that I give tours on, and the Evening Star, named after Peekskill's historic newspaper, the Peekskill Evening Star. And so both boats, wonderful events and tours that they do. But I have certainly found that a lot of people have been coming up on the tour because they want to hear the stories from me, and is the highest compliment, you know, that they're coming out just to do my tour. You know, some people like fans of mine who come on, they're even wearing my shirts. I have a shirt that says "Local History Conspiracy Theorist." Yeah, just because talking a lot about local history, and you know, so people coming aboard wearing my shirt, and I'm like, that's the coolest thing ever. Like it's such an amazing thing, and a real honor and a real privilege to be able to have people engaging with what I do, and just coming aboard and having a good time talking history. And then just, you know, we also have like food that they provide. They have sandwiches that they provide from one of the local delis, and, you know, drinks and snacks, and it's such a fun time.
Yeah, it sounds like it. It sounds like a good time.
Absolutely.
You know, just that boat trip, I've taken it before, is tell the audience a little about what they do. You're on the boat and it's going up. It's going north on the Hudson or south on the Hudson?
North on the Hudson. We start in Peekskill, right actually by the Riverfront Park where they dock. So you can literally, like, folks from the area can drive there, but also people from the city or wherever else can really just take a train, get to the train station, and just walk maybe 200 yards, not even 200 yards, to the boat. And we start from Peekskill. We go north, you know, past Dunderberg Mountain, underneath the Bear Mountain Bridge, all the way up to West Point, where we turn around and we come back. It's all in the span of about 2 hours.
Okay.
Both ways, yeah.
Okay. So are you finding that people take the ride for the ride or the ride for your event? I mean, you can answer that question. They take it for you, right?
People have definitely communicated that they're there just because they want to hear me talk. And again, that's like that's the highest compliment. Like that somebody wants to hear me tell stories is incredible. It's the greatest feeling in the world. Yeah. But like absolutely, there have been many people who have no idea who I am. They just come because they want a good boat tour, and they leave saying, like, we came for the boat tour, but we loved your stories. Like, where can we find you? And again, that's the highest compliment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I noticed in the video clip that I saw, there were people behind you, and first they're just kind of hanging out, and then as you're getting into the story, they start to turn around, and they're looking. Yeah. There's one woman, you know, somebody's trying to talk to her. She's like, really, she was kind of like, you know, I'm listening.
It's amazing. It's an amazing experience.
Yeah. Do you ever do it in schools? Do you ever do your talk to young people?
I've done a few colleges and universities. I definitely wanted to expand on that, but I also do want to get into the public schools, you know, especially around here.
Yeah.
And so we're definitely working up to that. It's just trying to find a way to present the stories I've talked about, because up until this point, a lot of the stories that I cover are significant, but they're also very mature stories. You know, Peekskill Riots, Pound Ridge Massacre. It's all about just trying to find a good way to get it to them in a way that is appropriate, but still conveys the message that we want to convey.
Tell me about the Peekskill, the Pound Ridge.
Which the Pound Ridge Massacre or Peekskill Riots?
Both, but you know, you mentioned the Pound Ridge Massacre, but I want to get to that after because a lot of people don't know anything about that.
Sure. Yeah, so I can start with Peekskill. The Peekskill Riots were in 1949. Actor, singer, and activist Paul Robeson, who was in the 1940s, he was one of the most recognizable Americans in the world. Not just one of the most recognizable Black Americans, but one of the most recognizable Americans in the world. He was an international celebrity. After the Second World War, war, he starts getting blacklisted as in the build-up to the McCarthy era. We haven't quite hit McCarthyism yet, but it's definitely in that build-up, as he is someone who's outspoken against white supremacy. He's outspoken for labor rights, and so he is getting blacklisted for this. His events are getting canceled. He's being shut down. And there's a scheduled concert right outside of Peekskill, New York. It's for a lot of the summer communities, which are largely made up of working class families, predominantly Jewish, but also black working class families that come up from the city to just enjoy the countryside here in the lovely Hudson Valley. They want to have him perform for the summer communities, but at what was at the time the conservative community of Peekskill, that was staunchly white, blue collar, conservative. They did not want a confident black man who's outspoken for labor rights, outspoken against white supremacy, fighting for civil rights, to come up and perform. So they actually attacked his concert before it could ever take place. And in the week after this becomes a national story, people are outraged, not just, people in the labor rights circles, but even a lot of centrists are saying, Paul Robeson's freedom of speech was taken away from him. His concert goers were attacked. We should come out and support him. So they actually schedule a second concert a week after when the first one was supposed to take place. The second concert is on September 4th. Paul Robeson performs, he performs all of his well-known songs, of most especially Old Man River. He performs it just outside of Peekskill in Cortland. And, concert is successful, but as the concert goers are leaving, and mind you, this was a concert that ended up having 20 to 30,000 people come out to support Paul Robeson. So when all of those thousands of people, men, women, and children, are leaving the concert grounds, they are attacked by an even larger mob of rioters that are coming from the communities of like Peekskill, Putnam Valley, Cortland, Verplanck, and it's an awful scene. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people are seriously injured. It becomes an international story, but then almost as quickly becomes swept under the rug. And right as we're getting into that McCarthy era, Robeson himself is swept under the rug. He is blacklisted, his income stripped from him, his ability to leave the country, his passport is taken away from him. And so he can't leave the country to perform to people who want to see him. He can't perform here because his concerts are being canceled. So he ends up losing everything. He loses his career, his legacy, his physical and mental health declines, and it's truly a tragedy. And that is unfortunately a result of what happened here in Peekskill.
A lot of people don't know who Paul Robeson is.
Yeah.
And I know who he is, but maybe you could just explain to our listeners, our viewers and our listeners are very much global.
Yeah.
And maybe they don't know. So maybe you can talk about him. He was an outstanding opera singer.
Yes.
Baritone.
Oh yeah, no, among many other things.
Yeah.
And similarly, no one had ever taught me about Paul Robeson before I discovered the Peekskill Riots story. So I come from the same boat of having explored this man's story as a result of talking about the Peekskill Riots. Paul Robeson was a Renaissance man. There's no other way to put it, a once-in-a-generation Renaissance man. He was absolutely a gifted singer, but he was also an actor. He was an activist. He was a writer. He was a lawyer. He even, before becoming a performer, he actually thought he was going to enter law. Like that was going to be the avenue of which he was going to pursue justice. But, and he went to Columbia Law School, so he got his law degree. And so many things. He was such an intelligent man, the kind of intelligence that you don't see like more than maybe once a century. He was somebody who studied perhaps dozens of languages. Like it's almost impossible to count. Like it's at least 11. I've heard estimates as high as 20 or 30 languages that he mastered. It's crazy. He was such a gifted man, such an intelligent man. And it was that ability to learn so many languages that made him an international star. And not just star, not just celebrity, but the ability to then become a global citizen to where he could become an activist on a global scale and try to unite people around the world. That's a very powerful individual who could do that. And it was because of that the systems of injustice, white supremacy or capitalism or all these things that are trying to keep people down, sought to destroy him because he was effective at what he did.
Yeah, yeah. That's still, those kind of things still happen today, unfortunately.
Unquestionably. And that's why it's so important to talk about it, especially to get people to see him as someone who could be an inspiration to present and future generations.
How great it would be if you could actually be like a keynote speaker, you know, at some graduation, so people could hear what you have to say. Because I feel, having been an educator myself, I feel that that kids, young people they don't know this.
Well,
and they don't know the importance of it.
Sure.
You know, and you have this, like, you know, dynamic
Thank you. Yeah.
that's very exciting, where you can actually get people riled up to be interested.
I see, you know, from the perspective of like what kids are, I think of it as, you know, I myself, having been a kid who grew up here in the Peekskill area and not known this story, it was only because no one had presented it to me. You know, I had to seek it out myself. So I try to be hesitant in casting any judgment to people who don't know, because I didn't know that long ago. So it's all about just getting it in front of them, meet the people where they're at. And that's especially the reason why I do what I do, in terms of not only touring the area, doing screenings at libraries, community centers, museums, artist spaces, but also sharing it online so widely, is because that's where young generations, that's where they're getting their history. That's where they're organizing politically. So meet the people where they're at and get it to them there.
Right, the boat.
Yes.
Go to the boat,
Go
right?
to the boat,
Go to
yes,
the boat.
yes, and then getting people to join us on the boat for a good tour, yeah.
Yeah, no, that was a wonderful thing. I think what you're doing is really so fantastic, you know? I wish that you were I had good history teachers, but you would have been an excellent.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, but you're actually teaching now, are you not?
I mean,
You should be.
yes, not in an actual school, you know, but I mean, teaching audiences everywhere and anywhere. Yeah, definitely.
Do you ever get called for somebody to just come in? Oh, let's come and talk to our group.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've been sought out for different venues, different groups, private groups who've wanted me. Yeah, certainly.
I can imagine the churches liking you, and the synagogues liking you to come in. So how does someone get in touch with you? Say they watch this interview, like, oh, I want that guy to come to my birthday party,
absolutely.
or whatever.
Birthday parties would be interesting for me. I wonder what the vibe would be with that. But yeah,
Depends on how old.
I mean, hey, I'll go anywhere as long as I can share these stories. I'll go anywhere. But if somebody wants to get in contact with me, I'm very active on social media. So literally just Jon Scott Bennett on social media, as well as my website, jonscottbennett.com. And you can send me an email or send me a message on social media. And if we want to try and get an event going, that would be incredible.
Yeah, no, it would be incredible. So what is your next step in this whole career, or this whole journey, I'll say?
I definitely want to go wider, telling more stories and collaborating with a lot more people. And I've started doing that. I have a series called Hometown Historians, where I am, as myself a historian, I'm meeting other historians and interviewing them, working with them, collaborating with them to get people who may be following me also in tune with them, and vice versa. And so definitely a lot of collaborations, definitely also a few projects that cover stories that I haven't covered previously. I'm working on a documentary about one of the first environmentalists, not only in the Hudson Valley, but in America, Theodore Cornu. And so that's a project I'm very excited about.
Theodore Corneo.
Cornu, yes.
Cornu.
Yes. A very under-discussed man. He had a significant impact in getting people to realize we need to protect the Hudson River, especially in the early 20th century when he was working. There was so much pollution, industrial pollution, that was starting up and really getting into a destructive scale. And he saw this and was saying, like, we need to reverse this before it's too late. And boy, is that not an eternal message, especially here.
Who heard his message? Who has heard his message besides you?
Great question. One of the people that really was inspired by him to continue was Pete Seeger, you know, a prominent folk singer and activist. He started Clearwater in the late 60s as an environmental organization to protect the Hudson River. They were actually, in their articles and their newspapers and in a lot of their publications, they were sharing what Theodore Cornu had been doing 20 years before, because they saw Cornu had already really created the path for what they wanted to do. They were just amplifying his message. And so he was, for a time, he was in his later years, of course, but for a time was also working with Clearwater. So, you know, what Pete Seeger was doing with Clearwater was and is incredible. The organization continues to this day, but it definitely, what they were inspired by Cornu. And so I think that alone is a reason why people should go back and revisit Cornu's work. And I'd love to be able to put a spotlight on that.
Oh, it'd be great. And it's funny, you know, things that people don't talk about. You know,
Yeah,
I'm glad your voice is out there.
I read, I look out there. I've gotten to a position where so many people are coming to me now and sharing stories. They're like, hey, have you heard about this? Maybe you should talk about this. And so now we're creating a community of history buffs, historians, or just people who want these stories to be told. And so we can now talk about it and get it out there. So I'm very blessed to be able to have people sharing it with me as well. I very much think of myself, I don't think of myself as a teacher, I think of myself as a student talking to other students and just having that back and forth dialogue.
Lifelong learner. Yeah. I know that having grown up in Westchester County my whole life, I'm from the Sound Shore originally.
Yeah.
And I know that there are little stories in my hometown, and there are women and men that have been like the first of whatever, and they get no recognition. You know, if I had been more of, I guess if someone had been more of an historian, maybe you can get these stories out. Like someone in my family was like the first Black-owned hair salon, probably in Westchester County. Yeah. Other people were doing hair, but, you know, she was licensed, you know? And I hear other stories like that all over, wherever I go. These small stories, these undersung individuals, you know, maybe you could start a club.
I mean, yeah, like, let's get these stories out there. That'd be incredible.
Yeah. But American history is one of the best things, you know, because right now we're at 250 years. People have mixed feelings about it. You know, because they say, yeah, there was freedom for some and not for others, but still we were all participated in it no matter who we were.
Sure. And I've talked a lot about that. I actually, not too long ago, I released a video essay about the 250th anniversary, and it's called, you're ready for it, it's called America, Failure 250.
Oh, yes.
And it's a very provocative title, no shame in the fact that it is clickbait, but it's also, in addition to clickbait, it's also a call to action where I bring it together at the end where I say it's only a failure if we allow it to be, right? So what I do is I discuss the 250th anniversary, a lot of the pitfalls that have occurred during this past year in the build-up to the 4th of July, and then I wrap it in saying, like, it does not have to be this way. The best way to change course is to get involved. You know, it's very easy to stand on the side and be like, look at this mess, but it's way more important to recognize what's going on and say, let's change it, let's change course, let's do something about it. So definitely using the failure word to hook people's attention, but then they see failure only if we allow it to be. There's still time, there's still a chance, and even after the 4th of July, you know, it doesn't end with the 4th of July. There's still many people who are still continuing those efforts.
Yeah. So it sounds like your message is somewhat provocative to someone, no matter what.
It definitely, for sure. I mean, something like that, you know, is definitely, it's to grab someone's attention. It's like the hook in a thesis statement, for sure, where, you know, if I said something to the effect of, I have some serious grievances with the semi-quincentennial, somebody might be like, okay, like, what does that mean? But America, failure 250, they're like, what? What did he say? But then if they stick around, it's like, oh, okay, like, I see where he's coming from. And of course, you know, even people who've watched it and disagreed, they still bring something to the conversation. Yeah.
You deal in truth.
I try, yes.
Yeah, you do, pretty much so, from what I can see.
Yeah.
You know, and how did you get your public speaking chops? Because you're like a natural.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I wish I had a better answer. I've just done it enough to where I think I've landed in a good spot. And of course, again, like anything else, you know, you grow and continue as in anything. But I've almost lost count, but somewhere in the neighborhood of 150 screenings, just events where we're showing the films. In the past 3 or 4 years or so. And in addition to that, making a lot of videos, doing the tours, the boat tours, to where I've just been talking. I talk too much. That might be the problem.
No. I'm like very much in engaged. I'm very enthralled
Yeah.
with what you have to say.
Thank you.
You
Yeah.
know? You know, I'm not falling asleep.
There you go.
I'm not falling asleep
That's
here.
good.
Yeah.
We're doing something right.
Yeah, you're doing everything right. I think you are.
Thank you.
Okay, before we wrap up, tell me about the plaque.
Yes. Oh, the plaque.
Yeah.
So going off of what we were talking about with the Peekskill Riots, it being a story that had been swept under the rug in a lot of ways, what I am trying to do and what I've been doing in community with a lot of other interested citizens is we are trying to get a marker at the site of the Peekskill Riots over in Cortland. Just something simply that says this happened here, Paul Robeson was here, and just recognizing the story. And it sounds like a small thing, but it really is tremendous. I mean, I grew up really close to where the site of the riots were. Any locals listening to this may know in Cortland, Oregon Road, that traffic circle.
Yes.
Yes. So, I grew up in Putnam Valley, literally just right up the road from there, and grew up not knowing the story, going through that traffic circle a million times, but not knowing the history of what occurred there and not knowing the significance of that. If there was just simply a marker there, someone else, future generations, current generations even, can at least go through there, see that, and know this story and be like, wow, I never knew this happened here. And that makes them want to learn more. That makes them want to learn more about Paul Robeson and learn his legacy, hear his songs, listen to him speak, watch and listen to him speak. And it just, that one small thing would have such a tremendous impact. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to work with the town of Cortland in some capacity to just get a marker at that traffic circle so that people know this story.
Okay, it sounds like a really ambitious,
Yes.
very ambitious
Yeah, we're not stopping.
aspiration.
Yeah.
You can't stop, And I think that history goes on. There's always history being made every moment, in my opinion.
Yes.
I think it happens perpetually. But I'm so happy you came on the show.
Yeah, no, thank you. It's been a real pleasure.
I look forward to talking to you again.
Yes.
Especially, I don't know if you're part of the film festival or I don't know exactly what your screening schedule is.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, but you have to come back.
I would love to.
Yes.
Would love to share stories, talk with people, and of course show the films anytime, anywhere.
Oh yeah, we like that stuff. We do. Thank you so much, Jon. You're the best.
Oh, thank you so
I really
much.
appreciated this interview. You had me going. I'm thinking, okay, I'm listening.
There we are.
And I've learned some things I thought I knew, but I found out I really didn't know.
There we go.
Yeah, I didn't know the whole story. You tell the whole story. You're very honest.
Thank you.
You're
I really
about
appreciate
truth,
that.
and I think people would be very blessed to know you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a real, that's very kind. Yes,
no.
a real pleasure being able to speak with you tonight.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, completely. And on that note, I'm going to say good night to you, good night to the audience, and thank you so much, everybody, for coming to the Energy Stoners Cafe and Talk with TQ once again. And as always, I'll bring you another guest that is the most interesting person I can find on the planet, just for you. Bye-bye.
This is being written a few short hours after my departure from the hell on earth that was Peekskill, New York, this Sunday before Labor Day, 1949. I still hear the frenzied roar of crowds, the patter of stone against glass and flesh. I hear the wails of women, the impassioned screams of children, the jeers and taunts of wild-eyed youths. I still smell the sickening odor of blood flowing from freshly opened wounds.
On September 4th, 1949, a concert was held outside the small city of Peekskill, New York, headlined by singer, actor, and activist Paul Robeson. Roughly 20 to 30,000 people from the nearby summer communities of Westchester, as well as from New York City, were in attendance. In response, many of the local citizens of the Peekskill area engaged in barbaric acts of violence and hatred towards those who attended the concert. Trapping them along the narrow country roads, the rioters began hurling rocks, bottles, and other objects at the fleeing cars and buses. Traffic was brought to a halt as passengers and drivers fled or were pulled from their vehicles and beaten. Men, women, and children were caught in the frenzy of a years-old bitter hatred that had finally risen to the surface.